Hi, this is Kelly Hill, technology reporter for RCR Wireless News. I'm here today with Joe Barry of Napatech, and we are going to be talking about big data analytics and the telco space. Welcome, Joe.
Thank you very much, Kelly, and it's great to be here.
Great. I'm wondering if you can start us off by telling us a little bit about Napatech and what you guys do.
Napatech is the world leader in accelerating network management and security applications. In particular, we help vendors of network management and security appliances to perform at the very highest level. One of the challenges that you have today in networks is the ability to keep up with the amount of data and the speed that data is being exchanged today. And that means that it's quite a big challenge for all of these vendors to be able to keep up with this data, to be able to process all this data, and for that they need acceleration technology, and we can provide solutions in both hardware and software to help them do that. And we are the world leader in doing that in industries like telecom, finance, enterprise, security, government applications, so a very broad area.
Okay. Great. Now, what major trends do you folks see in the market these days?
Well, there's a lot of focus right now on telecom and security in particular. We're seeing a lot of activity in those areas. The introduction of things like big data analytics, SDN, NFV, and of course the whole management and security challenges around that. And we were very focused on that right now. In the telecom space, SDN and particularly network functions virtualization are very, very hot topics right now. And it's getting to the stage now where there's a lot of concern about how are you going to manage and secure these kind of telecom networks in the future, and what's going to be required. We've certainly got to a stage with those technologies right now where it's been proven that they work. It's been proven that the business case holds. But what many see now as the big issue is, well, how are we going to actually get this to work in scale, at high performance, and with high-speed networks? And that's where some of the things that our customers are providing, like the real-time insight into what's going on in the network and real-time security, so you can actually not only detect but prevent what's going on in real time. These are things which are very important now in that space. Of course, big data analytics plays into this also, because you could say that what our customers are doing is a kind of data analytics, and it is. They're analyzing each and every packet in the network in real time to determine what kind of service it is, what kind of flows it's involved with, who's communicating with who, and whether it's a threat or not. So this is the kind of real-time analysis that our customers are doing, using our technology to accelerate that actual activity. So in a sense, we're addressing a corner of the big data analytics world, where many people think of big data analytics as the looking in databases and taking structured and unstructured data and trying to come up with try to see patterns in that and to derive some intelligence from that. There's also a part of the big data analytics world which is called real-time big data analytics, or RTBDA. And that's a place where our customers and our technologies naturally fit, especially when you look at networks, and particularly carrier networks, because there's a need there to not only understand what has happened in the network and be able to go through all of the XDR material and other data that you've collected over the time, but also look at the network information, what's been happening in the network over the past while, and what's happening in the network right now. And it's what's happening right now what I would expect from the network. So we're starting to see a large transition from using appliances and the kind of solutions our customers provide as just troubleshooting tools, to being more strategic and preventive tools and predictive tools in the network. So going from more of a reactive stance to a proactive stance. So starting to see probes and appliances as being analysis information that can then be what you've seen in the past, to be able to give you a quick decision point as to should I take action here. And coming back to SDN-NFV, I mean, that can be a very useful capability. That kind of real-time analytics helps you to be able to drive policy-driven networks. This is one of the things that people in NSD and NFV are looking at right now, is to say, how do we automate what we're doing more? And the idea is to use policy and to be able to define policies beforehand. And when certain triggers or events happen in the network, these policies would be activated. And they would use the capabilities of SDN and NFV to be able to quickly and agilely and flexibly bring the resources to bear, whether it be the network resources or computer or storage platforms, and to particularly instantiate them there where they're needed to be able to react to the situation. So just to give you an example, if you are looking at the network right now, you can see that something is happening. You could have stored that information over a long period of time and built up a profile previously to be able to compare with, so that you can say, well, is that what I'm seeing now what I would expect? And if it's not, then that can trigger an event which could trigger a policy, which could then be used to initiate some SDN and NFV activity to be able to reconfigure the network, reroute the traffic, bring more resources in to be able to help with a congestion situation. So it's the real-time insight that's actually powering decision making and making it move a lot faster, so that the entire network is reacting in real time. And that can be, of course, used for management, or it could also be used for security.
Mm-hmm. You know, it's interesting that you bring that up. I just finished a report on telecom analytics, and you know, some of the folks that I talked to made some very interesting points about, you know, there really is, you know, expected to be such a tie-in to big data analytics if SDN is really to reach kind of the potential that people are hoping for. You know, being able to look automatically and, you know, and devote more resources or less resources, you know, and that for that to be as efficient as it can be, taking people out of that is probably you know, the way that the networks need to go.
Well, the issue is that in the old days, when you had you know, telecom networks which were based on voice and SDH and PDH, I mean, everything was centrally engineered, so nothing changed unless you actually went in and changed it. So you pretty much knew where everything was flowing. You could monitor it because there was lots of management information in the protocols. So you had a lot of time to react, and you could have a person sitting at a console making decisions and keeping an eye on what's going on. But you know, when you're going into Ethernet IP, which is very dynamic, there's decisions being made to reroute traffic all the time, and you know, if you think about the fact that most of the traffic is over-the-top internet traffic, which is being consumed by mobile devices, and can occur at any time. I mean, you really have unpredictable, very large data traffic patterns that can change within nanoseconds in the network. So it's very difficult for an individual to keep up. So you do need the intelligence in the network to be able to take care of things itself. But you also want to have some sort of central control on that. The idea of having a person doing that, I mean, of course, for instantiating a new service, yes, of course. And a lot of SDN and NFV is looking at that and trying to determine how can we make it easier and abstract things so it's easy to make a service and get it deployed quickly. That's, of course, important. But what's even more interesting in my mind is the ability for the network to react and use SDN and NFV to be able to make and take an action to be on what it's seeing in the network. And there the analytics come into it. You know, what you're seeing in the network, comparing what you should be seeing from the intelligence that you have already built up, looking at other types of information that you've already collected. You know, they are tied together. And one of the trends that's coming in the future, of course, is the Internet of Things, or the Internet of Everything, where you will have, you know, trash cans talking to each other and cars talking to each other and all sorts of other things talking to each other, and they don't want or need a human in the middle, right? So you're going to have maybe small, low bandwidth communication, but lots of it, and that's going to be very, very unpredictable. So you will need the network to have the automation to be able to just do what it needs to do quickly, with some sort of supervision to make sure things are not going completely out of control. But I guess the central management of the future is probably more about defining policies and understanding how policy will affect networks over a longer period, and be able to monitor that. So policy management, in a sense, and the other part then about making the right analytics, so you're profiling your network and your services correctly, so that you're triggering at the right points, together with those policies. So yeah, it's going to be a lot more complicated, I think, going forward, right?
So how would you categorize kind of the state of the ecosystem right now? Are we still in, you talked about, kind of SDN is moving forward. How do you see big data analytics in terms of the use in telecom?
Well, what you're seeing really is, the entire ecosystem is adapting to these changes. I mean, SDN and NFV is definitely hype, but I think everyone would agree that it is going to happen as well. Now, the final shape of it may be different to what we see today, but everyone appears to be on board about following that transition, and all of the players in the industry are very keen to get involved in that. I mean, you can just look at the ETSI NFV work group and look at the list of attendees and participants. I mean, it's a who's who of who's involved in, from carriers right down to vendors to people like us. So it's very, very important that all these people would look at these trends and follow with them. Big data analytics, of course, is interesting because it brings in other people who are not traditionally maybe the telecom players, but enterprise players. So in general, what you're seeing is the worlds of enterprise IT and telecom starting to come together, which is a good thing, because Ethernet and IP have been in telecom networks for quite a while, but I mean, it would be my contention that a lot of people in telecom still haven't really understood Ethernet and IP and what it means. That is something that the enterprise IT people have been doing for a long time, and part of the SDN and NFV initiative is to learn from the experiences of the Googles and the Amazons and the others of the world, which come from an enterprise background. So they've obviously been successful, so what are they doing right? And that's what big data analytics, SDN and NFV are also about. Is about learning from these people and bringing that learning into the telecom environment, and potentially, adding to that and bringing it back into the enterprise environment. So it's that I think we're going to see symbiosis between those two industries. So if anything, the ecosystem is getting bigger, and more players are getting involved, but it's a good thing.
Okay. Great. Any final thoughts on either SDN or big data, or how security plays into this this part of the network?
Well, I mean, for me, management and security go hand in hand. You want to make sure the performance of your network is good and that everything's working properly. So that's the management side of it, where you need the visibility into what's going on. But the same technologies that you use for that can also be used to help you with your security stance. There are, of course, dedicated solutions like firewalls and IPSs, etc. But I think there's a growing understanding that you need to have network intelligence and understanding of what's happening in the network, in collaboration with the detection of algorithms and Trojan horses and viruses and whatever else that you have. You need both of those, because attacks now are multifaceted. They use a lot of different tactics, and there are also new kinds of attacks coming along all the time. So understanding your network and understanding how it behaves and what's normal and what's not normal, it will be important in trying to determine whether you're under attack or not, or whether something is sleeping in your network that you didn't know about and suddenly becomes alive. So it's the interesting thing is that there's a lot of things in motion right now, lots of new technologies, lots of new ideas, but they're all going in a very good direction to give us the frameworks and the agreed interfaces, the agreed topology models, the agreed ways of working and practices, policy-driven ways of working, and the appreciation for real-time insight into what's going on. That I think is very beneficial for the entire industry.
Okay. Great. I've been talking with Joe Barry, VP of Marketing for Napatech. Joe, thank you so much for your time today.
You're very welcome. Thank you.